Welcome back. We're doing something a little different today. Usually we talk about how to get ahead, how to be seen, how to crush the metrics, but today's deep dive is basically an intervention. An intervention for anyone who's addicted to that refresh button.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We're looking at a stack of research, but the core text is called the authority effect, building ideas that echo.
And honestly, it's a bit of a reality check.
It really is,
Hmm.
because we all know the game, right? You post an insight, share a win, you drop some hot take,
Oh.
and then you wait.
You wait for the little red notification bubble.
The dopamine hit. And when the numbers go up, we tell ourselves, okay, I'm winning, I have influence, I have authority.
And that is exactly where this source material just stops us cold. It makes a
Wow.
pretty bold claim right out of the gate.
What's that?
That feeling of validation, that applause, it's not authority. In fact, chasing it might be the very thing preventing you from becoming a real authority.
Which is so counterintuitive.
Mhm.
We're taught that attention is currency. If I have a million eyes on me, surely I'm the authority in the room. But the source makes this distinction that I think is critical. It's between being loud and being lasting.
Loud versus lasting.
Right. I mean, think about the digital landscape as
Yeah.
the source describes it. It's just noisy, so crowded.
Experts, influencers, gurus, everyone is shouting to be heard.
And the barrier to entry for making noise is basically zero. Anyone can go viral today for, I don't know, slipping on a banana peel or saying something outrageous.
So noise is cheap.
Noise is a commodity, and the source argues that true authority isn't about the volume of the noise you make. It's about the residue you leave behind when the noise stops.
Residue is such an interesting word choice there. It sounds almost sticky.
It is sticky, and that leads us to the primary metric this text proposes, which I love. It suggests we stop looking at our analytics dashboard to measure success and start using what it calls the empty room test.
Okay, I found this concept fascinating, but also a little terrifying. Walk us through this. What does the empty room test actually look like?
So visualize a boardroom or a Zoom call, whatever, a casual coffee chat. You are not invited. You are not logged in. You are miles away.
Okay, so I'm totally out of the loop.
Completely. Now, a problem comes up. People are debating how to solve it. Does someone in that room raise their hand and say, hey, we should handle this using,
Yeah.
your name's framework?
Uh,
Do they use a specific phrase you coined to clarify the confusion? Do they make a decision based on a principle you taught them 6 months ago?
so it's like being a ghost in the machine.
In a way, yeah. If your ideas can operate independently of your presence, you have authority. If you have to be in the room to explain, to justify, or enforce your ideas, you don't have authority yet. You just have a job.
Wow. That is a heavy distinction. It reminds me of that saying, integrity is what you do when no one is watching.
Yes.
This is like authority is what others do when you aren't watching.
Precisely. And this brings us to the central metaphor of the entire deep dive. I think it gives us a much better vocabulary for this whole thing, the difference between applause and echoes.
Let's break this down because on the surface, they sound kind of similar. They're both feedback loops.
They are, but they function in opposite directions. Applause is a reaction to a performance. You do something, people clap. It feels good. It's immediate.
But it's transactional. I perform, you clap, transaction over.
Exactly. And applause is finite. The second you stop dancing or writing or speaking, the applause stops. Silence. It's an ego metric. It just says, I see you.
Whereas an echo.
An echo is different. It doesn't just bounce back to you. It travels away from you. It distorts. It moves. It reaches places you'll never even visit.
So when someone repeats my idea to their colleague,
That's an echo. When a stranger uses your terminology in a blog post, that's an echo. Applause says, that was good. An echo says, this changed how I think.
but here's the problem, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Applause pays the bills usually. Sponsorships, ad revenue, speaking gigs, they're all based on the volume of applause, right? Or at least a follower count. Can you really afford to ignore it for this slower echo thing?
That's the tension, isn't it? And the source acknowledges this. It's not saying applause is bad. It's saying applause is a vanity metric that mimics success. You can monetize applause, sure. But if you want longevity, if you want to be the standard in your industry, you have to build for echoes.
Why?
Because echoes compound. Applause depreciates.
Okay, so if I buy into this, if I decide I'm done chasing the likes and I want to build these echoes, how do I actually do it? Because be impactful is great advice, but it's not exactly a to-do list.
And this is where the source gets really technical, which I appreciate. It moves away from the philosophy and into the engineering of it all. It argues that most experts fail because they are obsessed with content when they should be obsessed with infrastructure.
Infrastructure. That sounds like we're pouring concrete. What does that mean for ideas?
It means building a vessel for your knowledge, a container. The source lists a few components, but the most critical one is this concept of named frameworks and signature language.
Okay, let's drill into named frameworks. I feel like this is a buzzword we hear a lot. The X method, the Y protocol. Is this just branding, or is there something cognitive happening?
Oh, it's definitely cognitive. Think about it this way. If I give you a generic piece of advice, let's say you need to make sure you balance your work intensity with periods of deliberate rest so you don't burn out.
Solid advice, a little wordy maybe?
Right. You might agree with it. You might even try it. But are you going to mention that to your boss in a heated meeting? Probably not. It's too fluffy.
It's just common sense. It's hard to grab onto.
Now, what if I package that same advice into a named framework? I call it the oscillation method. I draw a little diagram, a sine wave of energy. I define the terms. Now, you have a handle.
I can carry it.
You can carry it. This is what cognitive psychologists call chunking.
Yeah.
You take complex information and compress it into a single chunk, the name. Now, when you're in that meeting and everyone is stressing out, you can say, hey, we're failing at the oscillation method right now.
And suddenly I sound smarter. And you, the person who created the method, you're present in the room, even though you're not there.
Exactly. You have given the listener a tool, not just a thought. The source has this logic chain for this that I think is brilliant. It goes, structured equals portable.
Okay.
Portable equals repeatable.
Right.
And repeatable equals remembered.
Structured, portable, repeatable, remembered. I like that.
If your idea isn't structured, if it's just a rant or a, stream of consciousness, it isn't portable. I can't pick it up and hand it to someone else without losing half the meaning.
It's like trying to carry water in your hands versus carrying it in a bucket. The framework is the bucket.
That's a perfect analogy. The bucket is the infrastructure. And the source argues that true authorities are essentially bucket manufacturers. They aren't just showing you water, they're giving you the container to carry it home.
This highlights a mistake I think a lot of us make. We think, I just need to explain it better. But what the source is saying is, no, you need to name it.
Naming is claiming. Until you name a phenomenon, people can't discuss it efficiently. I mean, look at the biggest authorities in any field. Brené Brown with vulnerability hangovers, or James Clear with atomic habits. They didn't invent the concepts of shame or small habits. They named them. They built infrastructure around them.
And that infrastructure is what allowed the ideas to travel without them.
That's the key, independence. A true authority wants their ideas to leave home and have a life of their own. A performer just wants the audience to stay in the theater.
Okay, but I have to push back on the how here, because creating a framework, that takes time. Naming things, testing them, that's slow work. And we live in a feed-based economy. The algorithm wants me to post 3 times a day. If I disappear for a month to build a framework, I lose my audience, don't I?
You've just hit on the hardest part of this entire deep dive.
Oh.
The source calls this section the price of authority. And the price is, well, it's essentially ignoring the algorithm.
That feels like professional suicide for a creator.
It feels like it. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
But the source frames it as a choice. Discipline over dopamine.
Explain that mechanism.
Oh, well, our brains love novelty. The algorithm loves novelty. So the temptation is to always talk about the trend of the week. AI one day, crypto the next, mental health the day after. And that gets you the dopamine hit of views.
It shows you're relevant.
But it prevents you from building depth. The source argues that to build an echo, you have to be willing to be repetitive. You have to be willing to say the same thing, refine the same framework, teach the same core concept 500 times until it sticks.
That sounds incredibly boring.
For you, the creator, yes, it is boring. It's a grind. But for the audience, it's consistency, it's reliability. The source makes a great point here. It says, you are tired of your message long before your audience has even heard it.
That's a good reminder. We think everyone sees everything we do, but really they see maybe 5%.
Right. So if you change your message every week to keep yourself entertained, you're just confusing the audience. You're stripping the screws of your own authority. You never hit the nail deep enough to make it hold.
So the discipline is the discipline to stay in your lane, to not chase the shiny object.
Exactly. It's the discipline to dig a well instead of just running through the sprinklers. Digging is hard, it's slow, no one claps while you're digging a hole. But once you hit water, you have a resource that lasts for decades.
I want to circle back to the empty room concept for a second, because there's a nuance there about trust. If I'm not in the room, why do they trust my framework? What makes an idea trustworthy enough to become an echo?
That's a great question. The source offers what it calls a trust formula near the end. It identifies the active ingredients that make an idea stick. It's not just about catchy names.
Okay, what are the ingredients?
The first is real-world results. The framework has to actually work. It has to solve the problem. If you name a concept but it breaks when people try to use it, you don't have authority, you have a scam.
Fair point. The bucket has to actually hold water.
Second is emotional resonance. And this is what I think a lot of technical experts miss. The idea has to make the user feel something. Usually, it makes them feel understood or capable.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Think about the term imposter syndrome. Before that had a name, people just felt insecure and crazy. They thought, I'm the only one who feels like a fraud.
Right, it was a personal failing.
Then someone names it imposter syndrome, and suddenly, it's not just you, it's a phenomenon, a syndrome that provides this immense emotional relief. Oh, I'm not crazy, I'm just experiencing this thing. That emotional resonance is why the term traveled so far so fast.
It validated their experience.
Exactly. So if you want your ideas to echo, they need to solve a functional problem, the results, and a psychological problem, the resonance.
So, looking at the whole picture here, we have the trap, which is chasing applause. We have the goal, creating echoes. We have the method, building infrastructure and named frameworks. And we have the cost, the discipline to be repetitive and deep.
That's the roadmap. That's it, in a nutshell.
For the listener who is sitting there thinking, okay, I have a blog or a podcast or I lead a team. How do I know if I'm actually doing this? The source gives us a diagnostic question, right?
It does, and it's a brutal question if you answer it honestly.
Lay it on us.
The question is this: are people consuming your content, or are they carrying your ideas?
The difference between consumption and carriage.
Oof. Consumption ends when the video stops. Carriage begins when the video stops. If you look at your comments or your emails or your team meetings, are people parroting your words back to you? Are they using your definitions to argue with each other?
If they are arguing with each other using your vocabulary, you've definitely won.
That is the ultimate victory. If your framework becomes the battlefield, you own the terrain. But if they're just saying great post or so true, you're likely still in the applause phase. You are entertaining them, but you aren't equipping them.
That is such a crucial shift in mindset. Don't entertain, equip.
And the good news, according to the source, is that this is engineered. It's not magic. You don't have to be some kind of genius. You just have to be deliberate about structuring your thoughts. You can start today. You can take that confusing advice you always give it a name, draw a box around it, and see if it travels.
You can start building the bucket.
Exactly.
I really appreciate how this deep dive strips away the vanity of it all, the whole creator economy. It's so easy to get caught up in personal brand hype, which is usually just a fancy way of saying, look at me.
Look at me versus use this. That's the choice.
The source ends with a sentiment that I think is going to stick with me for a long, long time. It defines authority in a way that has nothing to do with credentials or followers.
Yeah, it says authority isn't a title, it isn't followers, it isn't a blue check mark. Authority is what remains when you leave the room.
It's the silence after the door closes, filled by the ideas you left behind.
Beautifully put.
So that is the challenge for you listening right now. Next time you are drafting that email or preparing that slide deck or writing that script, ask yourself, is this designed to get a clap? Or is it designed to create an echo?
Build something that travels without you.
Build something worth echoing. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.